Hey, I'm Gary.
This is Gritty.
And Austin will be joining us here in a little bit. But this is Midwest Mike's, and we are back, finally. Football is right around the corner. As we record, today is August 21st. So we've made it through the last weekend without college football for the foreseeable future.
Week 0
till about
coming.
the end of January, yeah. Saturday there'll be a big slate of games. I think the kickoff game is like Notre Dame and Navy, something like that.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Like 12:30 our time, I think, or 11:30 our time, maybe.
Oh.
But yeah, so college football's there. NFL training camps are open. We're through a couple weeks of the preseason. So, your teams that did have battles for some starting spots, those are starting to take shape. And this will be our first show back in our annual NFL season preview. And, we're going to start with a division that, we both kind of feel like is underwhelming. There's not a ton of storylines going into it. But we're going to start with the AFC South.
Yeah, no, I think there's very little intrigue just because of all the question marks with that division in particular.
Yeah.
I mean, Houston obviously made a huge splash in April in the draft, drafting C.J. Stroud and then immediately trading right back up to get, I think it was pick number 3. They had 2 and 3, and taking Will Anderson. I still think they're probably 2 years away from turning that into anything, even with C.J. Stroud down there. I think maybe it's going to take them a year or two to kind of get comfortable in the league and then have another good draft class like they did this year. Moving around, I think that division is Jacksonville's.
Yeah.
Let's be clear on that to begin with. What Jacksonville did last year kind of took the league by surprise. Trevor Lawrence kind of took a step that nobody really saw coming. They started off a little rough last year and then kind of caught fire as the season went on. I think that's more of just seeing that second-year comfort level come into effect with Trevor Lawrence. Sorry, I was drawing a blank there.
I mean, Trevor Lawrence, I agree. I think it shows you that even in the NFL, coaching still does matter. Even though these guys are professionals and they're playing a game at the highest level, your coaching still matters because you get rid of Urban Meyer, you bring in a Doug Peterson who, obviously Andy Reid tree has won a Super Bowl as a head coach and just kind of rights the ship, keeps it stable. And that being around Trevor Lawrence made a big difference. But, last year they were top 10 to 15 in most of your offensive categories. Defense struggled a little bit, which, Peterson's probably improved in the offseason. But, top 10 to 15 in most of your offensive categories is pretty good.
Good spot to be in right there.
Points scored, total yards per play, those type things. Total yards per game, rush yards per attempt. Some of they were number 9 in rush yards per attempt in the whole league. So offensively, if you're top 10 in running the football, you're going to be one of those teams that makes it to February.
Yeah, and they did.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. Looking at the other 2 teams in that division, I think the Colts took a big swing in the draft, getting Anthony Richardson. But from what I've seen so far and hearing stories out of camp and whatnot, I think he's really grasping what's going on in Indianapolis. But obviously there's turmoil in Indy with Jonathan Taylor being granted his permission to seek out a trade partner for him. So again, you gain some, or you may gain some. Anthony Richardson's still a rookie, still a lot of question marks, but you may gain some there. But you're going to lose a huge piece to your offense, your running game, your locker room, and ultimately your organization. And then I just think, I think Tennessee is going to be like a 6 or 7 win team this year. I don't think they're going to be much of a factor.
Yeah, going back to the Colts you were talking about, obviously really struggled last year with having a high draft pick. They were in most offensive categories, 27, 28, 30, 32. They were really up there, same kind of on defense. The only one that they really, points allowed, they were 29th. And, if you're giving up more points than 28 other teams.
That means they're a bad team.
Yeah, you're not very good. I think Indy's. I'm not as high on them as you are. I think they're a 3 to 5 win team. I think they'll be near the bottom of the league again. Starting a rookie quarterback is always tough. But Anthony Richardson, and it's no slight on him. I just think any rookie coming in, is going to struggle. Obviously, Matt Ryan experiment did not work.
No.
Some people are saying that's a loss for that team. I really don't think so. I don't think Anthony Richardson's going to play worse than Matt Ryan did last year.
No. Just the athletic ability.
Yes.
From what he brings. Look at the league. The league the position is transitioning to guys that are more run pass neutral. You have guys on that side of the spectrum that are more run heavy, and then you have guys on that side of the spectrum that are more pass happy.
Yeah.
But for the most part, when you look at the teams who are leading the way in the league right now, they're quarterbacks that are able to do both at a high level. Like, we don't think of Patrick Mahomes as that, but every time there's a big play that needs to be made, Patrick's making it with his feet. Mm-hmm. And do we need to say anything about Josh Allen? Do we need to say anything about Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields? Justin Fields is the guy. He has the most money on him to win MVP this year out of Vegas. So there's something going on where people are like, okay, we like this hybrid new quarterback, and Anthony Richardson fits that bill to a T.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that Indianapolis can really play on. I think they probably end up about the same as Tennessee, 6-7 wins, somewhere right in there. Just because even last year they squeaked out wins that they shouldn't have.
Mm-hmm. Beating the Chiefs. Yeah.
They beat the Chiefs. On a noon game, after a big game, and before a big game, we call them trap games.
Yep.
There's going to be more trap games, and that's going to be a type of team right there because Anthony Richardson can air it out for 350, and he can run it for 150 if you're not careful.
Yeah.
So,
and that's me, looking at the schedule here today in August.
Yes.
And basing it on my opinion of all these teams.
Mm-hmm.
So, I kind of went through the schedules today and was just looking, or yesterday, and, just kind of looking at it and seeing like, hey, I think this team's not going to be very good. So I'm a little higher on Tennessee. I think they could get to 7, maybe 8 wins. I don't think they have a winning record. I think they are kind of on the downhill slide of, if you call it the uptick that they had there, where, they were kind of one of the top teams in the AFC with the Chiefs. I think that they're kind of over that hump and on the downhill slide now.
Yeah.
Obviously Derrick Henry's still there. He's still a really good player, but they've never been able to find the quarterback that can match that and throw it well enough to keep them in games.
And what you saw during that high, if you will, that 3-year high with Tennessee, was Derrick Henry was out of his mind.
He was.
And he can't keep that mind. No, you can't. Even over the last year and a half, his games have been really roller coaster like, up and down.
Mm-hmm.
There's been some really bad downs.
Yeah.
But then obviously, he's still Derrick Henry still runs a 4.5 and he's still 270 pounds and can run over any linebacker, any defensive lineman in the game. So he'll rattle off the 120 to 150 game every now and then obviously goal line. He's always going to be a touchdown machine. So
yeah, he's still, if you're a fantasy person and you're listening to this, maybe trying to catch some fantasy advice, Derrick Henry's still running back 1 in fantasy football. Because he's going to get the goal line touches. He still has that capability to rattle off that 45, 50-yarder if he gets free.
Yeah.
I think teams are starting to load the box more and put it on Tannehill. And I haven't seen Tannehill step up and make that clutch throw or 4 or 5 clutch throws that you see a Patrick Mahomes or I've seen a Lamar Jackson make at times even. And I know people are not as high on him as I am. But
why'd you look at me when you said
that? Austin's the same way. But yeah, I think, they could possibly get to 8 wins. I don't think they're a 9 or 10 win playoff team. They're one of those teams. I think this year it's going to be on the outside looking in.
Yeah. On your point to the Tannehill thing, like they need to figure out their quarterback quickly because, dating back to 2019, that was the thought of many Chiefs fans when Tennessee was coming to town. We're going to stop Derrick Henry. Ryan Tannehill's going to have to make a throw.
And he hasn't.
I have yet to see Ryan Tannehill make that throw, and that was 4 years ago. And that's why Tennessee can't make it over that hump, is you need the quarterback play. We lived it here with Alex Smith. Alex Smith was a good quarterback. He won 50 games in 5 years. That's hard to do in the NFL. Like, not very many quarterbacks just rattle off that many wins in a 5-year span. With as bad of defenses as he had, with as bad of weapons as he had, even though he still had Travis and Tyreek.
Mm-hmm.
And Alex just couldn't get us over the hump. He could get us there. He could get us to the dance. But you can't get it if you can't make the throw, you can't get it over the hump. So
yeah,
that's kind of where Tennessee has been. They've been in that quarterback limbo, just trying to figure it out, and they still haven't figured it out. So
no, I mean they didn't make any moves.
Yeah,
at quarterback, and I'm not saying they didn't try, but they didn't, and they lost, their big tackle Taylor Lewan in the offseason, which, I mean, anytime you lose a player like that on your offensive line, I mean, you're going to take a hit.
You are.
And, I think the Houston Texans are the seller of that division.
Oh, absolutely.
I know they drafted C.J. Stroud, but, again, Ohio State quarterbacks have not done anything in the NFL.
Yeah.
And you can go back. I mean, RG3 was probably the closest to getting there, but then he got hurt. Or no, he was Baylor.
Yeah, he's a Baylor.
So he's not even Ohio State.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was thinking that.
And they'll try to claim Joe Burrow, but
Joe
Burrow was nobody to LSU.
Yeah,
so.
Joe Burrow's the LSU guy. I don't know why I was thinking RG3, but yeah, Ohio State just has a bad track record once their guys get to the league.
Yeah.
At that quarterback position.
Some of them end up as wide receivers.
Yeah. So, and I mean, Houston was bad last year, obviously, with having, the second pick overall.
What was their total defensive rank?
Total defense, points allowed, they were 27th. Doesn't say total defense, but total yards per play, 26.
Oof.
Total yards per game, 30. I mean, rush yards per attempt, 29. Rush yards per game, dead last, 32.
Again, and that's another team that kind of makes me cringe because we played such a bad game.
Yeah.
Against the Texans too, so
I mean it's hard for, and I know everybody's professional, but I feel like it's still hard for even professional athletes when they know, like, this team doesn't have the talent we do.
Yeah. And then like, as you coach football, you're coaching football now.
Yeah.
I coach baseball here in the area. We all know this. You step on the field and you let a bad team hang around, that's all that bad team wants.
Yes.
They want a chance. If you give them the chance, they're going to beat you 2 times out of 10. They're going to beat you 1 time out of 10. Mm-hmm. And you're going to feel really bad about yourself.
Yeah.
So the Chiefs let those teams hang around. Heck, we lost to Indy and had a couple plays late that we could have won the game. And then, in Houston, they took us to overtime. And it was a horrible game. And
unfortunately, that's kind of been a signature of Andy Reid.
Yeah, just let down games.
His whole career.
Yeah.
As a head coach, even in Philly. But, yeah, so I don't see any of these other teams stepping up and taking the division from Jacksonville. Like I said, I think Indy and Houston are both really bad. I think Tennessee will be somewhere in the middle of the pack in the NFL. Right there, hovering around 500, maybe a little less. But, that's the way I see the division.
I don't see it really any different. I think you can flip flop Indy and Tennessee. Obviously, this is looking from training camp in because we don't know anything yet really about teams. And then I think Houston is the bottom. I think Houston's going to be vying for the number 1 overall pick. They're going to be a top 3 pick, in my opinion.
Yep, I agree.
And so I think Houston's bottom. Interchange Indy, Tennessee, however you want. I think they're both 6 to 8 wins, somewhere in there. And I think Jacksonville, I got a futures bet on them. I got them winning 13 games this year. So I think they sweep the division. Now you're only 7 games away from that. So
yeah, I just think it's really hard to sweep your division. I don't know that they'll be there yet.
Yeah.
But again, I think they'll be 10-win team. Kind of their ceiling 9 to 10, so which is enough to win that division.
Yes,
for sure. So, that's the AFC South. we are going to be back tomorrow. So we're recording a bunch of episodes today, and then we're going to drop them kind of the 8 or 9 days leading into the NFL season. So, like I said, it's August 21st when we are recording this. Hopefully no big-time injuries happen on any of these teams before, this comes out. But look for it. Again, wherever you get your podcasts, if you're listening to this right now, just hit that, subscribe button on whatever platform you use, Apple Podcasts, Google. You can find us on YouTube with our audio. We have a TikTok under Midwest Mics. We always post our links on Twitter, Midwest Mics, Facebook, Midwest Mics. Snapchat. Any of those, just feel free to find us and drop comments. Like, we love interacting with you guys. I love it when you guys think that, one of us has a really bad take and we hear about it. And it starts the conversation. But we love to debate with you guys. So just, again, subscribe, let us know, and we will be back tomorrow with another episode. I'm Gary.
This is Grady.
And we'll be back with another Midwest Mics tomorrow.